Alright, Shalom. First thing and foremost, I want to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to YAHAWAH, YAHAWASHI, BAHA, double honors to the elders and the apostles of Gmskc that rule well. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. There was a gospel broad left understanding of YAHAWAH, wherever it may be. What you're witnessing here is the Ecuadorian protests, anti-riots with the police, etc. This is part of prophecy, but you see uproars of the people because the people are tired of being oppressed. Because if you push people in the corner long enough, eventually they are going to rise up against you. And this is what we're seeing on the planet Earth. All right, from parts of Mexico to parts of Venezuela to Ecuador, Spain, Greek. It's riots all over this place. Even in some parts of America, you got mild protests here and there. But nonetheless, man, this is we're at the end of this man's kingdom. Right now it's very mild compared to what's going to be about, because it's going to come a time that these people are going to start actually opening up and shooting at these people, like literally putting them down. Like this can be staged whatsoever, because they got tear gas, they got rubber bullets, pellets and stuff like that to kind of destabilize people for the time being and ultimately detaining them. But ultimately ain't nobody really dying in these things, but it's going to come a time that you are going to have a mass casualty buildup. Alright, so I'm going to play a little bit of this, and we're going to go into the scriptures, followed by an article that I conjured up. So, here we go. And these are mainly Israelites, man. Because this is all due to this dude Marino, which he's in bed with the U.S. Alright, so basically, man, this is pretty much the world descending into chaos, and this is happening all over, not just Ecuador. Alright, so it says, Ecuador's President Lina Moreno has declared a curfew and sent in troops to force protesters off the streets of the capital of Quito. Alright, so they're deploying the troops now, okay? It says he's also agreed to assess the cancellation of fuel subsidies that had triggered the unrest. But Moreno has announced that he is introducing a curfew and the militarization of Quito starting 8 p.m. That's martial law. So he's basically declaring a national emergency, martial law. Okay, and it says, and this will facilitate the use of public force in the face of intolerable excess of violence, he said on Twitter. It says Ecuador's armed force. This is also announced later on Sunday that movement around the country will be restricted for 24 hours. So basically they're going into martial law for 24 hours, man. Alright, and we've been telling you through the scriptures that these things are going to really come to pass. I don't know, for those of you, that don't believe in the word of the Heavenly Father, this is prophecy in itself. Alright, so this is just a video that they post. I guess they like to tweet from Twitter, but this is just part of the protest here that we was looking at. Somebody getting plowed down. So basically, the lady was pretty much weeping. She was gasping, man, because she was, because she was, she was in turmoil, you know. So it says here, due to the complexity of the situation, Moreno would take another look at the decree 8883, which have enraged citizens. But Quito Mayor George Yunda Machado announced on Twitter. But it says the move was one of the austerity measures introduced by the government in order to meet the conditions of a 4.2 billion loan deal with the International Monetary Fund, going back into Babylon. All right, but it says Moreno later stated that he will assess the impacts of the cuts, but didn't indicate whether he was planning to repeal it. But the president also offered to begin to talk for protest leaders to settle the crisis, and they have accepted an invitation. But once the conditions was in the talks to be held in public and to be broadcast live, it says one of the protester leaders said, so this is basically because the people are tired of being oppressed, man. All right, these people are oppressing. These are our people. For the most part, these are Israelites, the Northern Kingdom. Look at this. We understand that Esau Edom has his hand in everything when it comes to these riots being manufactured. But nonetheless, man, the people are sick and tired of being oppressed, man. And this is part of the end. All right. So this is the book of Second Esdras 9. And I'm going to start at verses 1. It says, and he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself. And when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, and we're making measurement of these things, we're bringing out these things through the Spirit. And this is why the scripture said, I've set watchmen on thy walls, O Jerusalem, because we look and we report. All right, like the scriptures say, pray, therefore watch. And we're watching the prophecies unfold, and we're doing a report on them through the Spirit. And it says, then thou shalt understand that this is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Okay, so this is the Lord speaking. This is his judgments. And therefore, when there should be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, and this is considered an uproar, this whole protest here. All right. I'd like to capture footage of actually what's going on. Just look at this place. It's in a decayed state. But it says the protest is mainly represented by Ecuador's indigenous people, Israelites, all right, set the Comptroller General office on fire and ravaged the Parliament building, breaking windows and throwing furniture into the street. And this is going to happen in Babylon, man. Like you people that run the Supreme Court and the federal courts and the state courts and the circuit courts, man, the people is coming for y'all, for you devils that oppress our people, man. All right, it's going to come a time that these people are going to get tired of being oppressed. All right, they're raising taxes. The cost of living is going up, but nobody's getting raises. Gas is going up. And you Americans, man, you only gonna fight when you push into the corner, because you still have the luxury, or should I say the illusion of luxury that you live in. But really, you in worse state than these people. And Esau Edom is doing whatever he want to do to you. He's taking your money. He's taking your children. He's exploiting everybody. This man is all over the place. And it says in the protesters, it says set the Comptroller General office on fire and ravaged the Parliament building, breaking windows and throwing furniture into the street. But the demonstrators also blocked all roads leading to Quito International Airport. But it says the administrative buildings taken over by the protesters were empty, as Moreno had already moved the government to the city of Guayaquil, located 250 kilometers south of Quito. And if these people knew that they were right, why are they moving? These people know that they're wicked and that they have a hand in oppressing our people. So therefore, now they got to be relocated. It's funny how, you throw the first punch or you pull put the poison on somebody, but then when they come back for you, all of a sudden you want to run now, which proves that you devils ain't shit, man. All right, but it says it was the capital's 10th straight day of unrest, which broke out after the government announced austerity measures. And they're only doing that because they're in bed with Babylon. All right, and all this that you see that's happening here is going to fall on a well-being of you Americans. And it says, in the suspension of fuel subsidies, saw the price of gasoline spike for $1.85 to $2.39 per gallon, while diesel prices went up by a staggering 123%, from $1.03 to $2.29. Hey, that's still relatively cheap compared to what we pay. But nonetheless, these people are in the money here is the value, and this is what happens. But it says 5 people have been killed and over 1,000 wounded in clashes since October 3rd, according to government data. Which it could be very more than that, because who's to say that these troops ain't knocking the people off counter? It could be thousands dead. You know, because like I said, even though it don't appear that they're killing anybody, behind closed cameras, I guarantee you that they're eliminating Jake. But it says the police have arrested over 1,100 demonstrators. But Moreno was previously reluctant to reconsider the harsh measures and blamed former President Rafael Correa and his Venezuelan ally Nicolas Maduro of masterminding the demonstrations. And I don't think Maduro was really behind that, man. I don't know. You know, cause it's like Maduro was pretty much for his people. But who knows, man? All these talking heads are set up one way or another. You know. This is another article here. It says Army deployed in Ecuador as protests descend into violence. Alright. And it's basically what we read here. But it says the Telemazonians television station set fires on the grounds to try to break into the building where 20 employees were trapped. And it says they're trying to enter the station, trying to break down the doors, and we're asking for help, but the police aren't coming. And that's going to be a normal thing because for the simple fact, when martial law is declared and all hell break loose in the society, hey, you ain't going to have no cops. You ain't going to be able to call 911. It's going to be every man for themselves, man. And if you don't have the spirit of YAHAWASHI on you, you will falter under these austerity measures. That is what it's going to be. All right. And it says here, it says, and even so, the times of the highest have plain beginnings and wonders and powerful works and endings and effects and signs. And everyone that should be saved and shall be able to escape by his works and by faith, whereby ye have believed, shall be preserved from the said perils and shall see my salvation in my land and within my borders. For I have sanctified them for me from the beginning. But they that should be in pitiful case, which have now abused my ways, and they that have cast them away despitefully should dwell in torments. Talking about you Edomites and you 2/3 out there, and you other nations, because hey, you've loathed the law of YAHAWASHI. Therefore, when these things actually hit America, Babylon, that's when it's going to get out of hand. All right, because this is going on all over the world. But it says here, for such as in their life have received benefits and have not known me, and yet they have loathed my law, and while they yet had liberty, and when they yet had a place of repentance was open unto them, understood not, but despised it. So the same must know it after death by pain. All right. So, hey, it's going to go down out here, man, you know. And, you know, we sound like a broken record, but nonetheless, this is what the Most High is prophesying through his men. All right. Because the people, they're not taking into account their leaders. They don't care about their leadership because they feel that the leaders are the ones that's oppressing them anyway. Okay, you're raising up tax prices, gas. You know, people can barely make ends meet. You know, and yet Esau, Edom, only thing he knows is to oppress, because at the end of the day, Esau is behind all this. Okay, so this is 2nd Esdras 15 and 14. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people should stand up to fight against another with swords in their hand. Okay, and this is basically, what you see going on here as far as these protests. All right, this is what the scriptures is speaking about. Military vehicles being set on fire. These people oppressed, man. And some of it might be crisis acting, you know, to try to bring in order out of chaos. But nonetheless, you got people that's really suffering behind these class riots. And it says, for their sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people should stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands. All right, and this is the race riots. And there should be sedition among men, evading one another, and they should not regard their kings nor princes, in the course of their actions to stand in their own power. So you heard what we just read in the article, which stated that they moved the government, you know, to a different city because the people was coming after them. And it said that they blocked the airports and everything. Like, it was no way out of the city. And the city is going to be on lockdown for 24 hours. At 8 o'clock curfew. And if they catch you outside after 8 o'clock, they're going to put you to death. Or they're going to put you in one of these detainment centers, man. So, hey, you get caught out there at a certain time, it's pretty much curtains for you. And it says here, and a man should desire to go into a city and should not be able. That's martial law. For because of their pride, the city should be troubled, and the houses should be destroyed, and men should be afraid. And a man should have no pity upon his neighbor, but should destroy the houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and of great tribulation. And this is what we're witnessing here. Alright, because even in 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter, it stated that the city should be casted down. There should be 10 left of a city, you know. And these things are turning up. This is happening all over the world, not just Ecuador. Look at what's happening in Venezuela. You know, and these are the plagues that the Lord is sending on the planet Earth. Alright, so this is the book of 2nd Ezra 16 and 17. It says, woe is me, who will deliver me in those days. Okay, and this is nothing compared to what's getting ready to happen. It says, the beginning of sorrows and great mournings, and the beginning of famine and great death, and the beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear, and the beginnings of evils. But what should I do when these evils come? Okay, and shit, man. Pray to YAHAWASHI that you not falter in these days. Alright, but it says here, but behold, famine and plague and tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for a minute. But for all these things they should not turn away from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of their scourges. Okay, so this is what you see. It says, but behold, victuals should be so good cheap upon earth, that they should think themselves to be in good case. But even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. But for many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine, and the other should escape the hunger, and the sword should destroy. And the dead should be casted out as dung, and there should be no man to comfort them. It says, for the earth should be wasted, and the city shall be casted down. And this is basically what you're seeing. And there should be no man left to till the earth and to sow it. Because, hey, man, it's going to be a lot of death out here. There won't be no city workers or maintenance workers fixing up the city streets that day. Okay? So, this is what YAHAWASHI said. This is the book Luke 21. And I'm going to start at verses 25. Let me see something here. Yep, Luke. I'm gonna start at verses Luke 21, and I'm gonna start at verses 8. It says, but when ye should hear wars and rumors and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by. Then he said unto them, nation shall rise against nation, which you're seeing, and kingdom against kingdom, and great earthquakes should be in divers places, and famines and pestilence and fearful sights and great signs shall there be from heaven. Alright, and this is going into like the different lunar eclipses, etc., the signs, the chariot sightings, and all these other things. And it says 25, and there should be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon earth, distress of nations with perplexity, the seas and the waves roaring, and men's hearts failing them for fear, and looking after those things which are coming on the earth, and the powers of heaven should be shaken. Okay, and this is basically what the Lord is speaking about. These are the different signs. And then should they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. Alright, and he goes into the parable of the fig tree on how during certain seasons it gives its certain fruit, etc. to let you know that we're in the season. And these are basic signs that YAHAWASHI, if you're paying attention, is showing us through the Spirit that's getting ready to come to pass. Alright, so this is Luke 12 and 49. It says, I come to send fire on the earth. What will I if it already be kindled? Alright, so the Lord came to send judgment, you know, not peace and safety. He come to send judgment, chaos, because the whole world is descended into chaos, man. Alright, and this is my last precept. This is the book of Isaiah 19 and 2, talking about Babylon. It says, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, and city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols and to the charmers and to them that have familiar spirits and to the wizards, man. So when this thing get out of line to the point that Esau, he can't dictate the outcome or provide the narrative for the outcome, that's when they're going to start seeking to these different demons and spirits, man. Because like I've always said, it's going to come to a point that Esau is going to lose ultimate control. And this is when he's going to get desperate, and the fulfillment of Revelation 12 and 12 is going to come into fruition, man. So, brothers, pay attention to the signs, and hey, let's keep edifying a hopeful elect. And with that, all praises and glory and honor that's due to YAHAWASHI, and with that, Shalom, Ba, Ba, Ba.